What do you think is missing from triathlon to become a mainstream sport?
Should we say one thing or all the things?
Mainstream sports require large viewerships, and for whatever reason, people can watch golf for 3 days, 4 days in a row, but we haven't figured out a way to make an 8-hour or 9-hour for Ironman or 4-hour for 70.3 broadcast entertaining enough to capture a wide audience. And I really think the current structure has something to do with that, where people want to see rivalries and they want to see them racing head to head. And right now, to try to make a living, we don't want to race the best people every single time, because it makes it more difficult. You have to dig too deep. You can't race again for another month. It's almost encourages people to find races where they can get a result without having to kill themselves to do it and save themselves for that one race a year. Obviously that's self-preservation in some sort, but I think that works against us in some regard as well.
A lot of those things the PTO is trying to create this environment where we can have mainstream, because they're going to put on big races where it's going to be well televised and exciting to watch, and that's going to hopefully encourage people to just go all in for it and put all the best people against each other. Like, that's what everybody wants to see, right? And like you said, It's not a very good career if you go and you race the best people every weekend and you come like 5th to 8th. As the structure is now, that doesn't really help. So I think that's going to be a big difference for sure. And then just the quality of the broadcast, the quality of the commentating, like all those things, if you look at the Tour de France or things like that, are just so high level for those. And that's what we need to get.
Obviously there's costs involved with that. I've always, I came from the university life before this. And I've always thought that in pretty much every town where there's an Ironman race, at least in the US, there's a college. And so even if they can't afford the upfront cost of, the media, I get that it's totally expensive and logistically a nightmare, but going to the local colleges and saying, hey, what will it take for your marketing department? We'll make a donation to your program. We'll give you, like internship type experience. I think that there's a huge opportunity there that wouldn't come at a huge cost. People have to see the races. I mean, we were talking before, on just like the most exciting finishes. There's a lot of exciting finishes that just never get to people's attention. Maybe they see it 3 days later on social media, but by that time, it's kind of over and done with. What do you think from other sports we could bring into triathlon?
Any fighting-based sports always have huge rivalries. A little different because those people actually want to get themselves pissed off so they can punch each other in the face. You don't necessarily want that in a triathlon, so you got to stay a little more cool, calm, and collected. But a little more of that, you got to have an exciting broadcast, and that comes from any sport, like tennis, golf, basketball, you name it. There's always an exciting commentary going on, and that's the main thing, I think.
What do you think about finish line etiquette? Do you think, you should act like you've been there before, or, be running down the finisher chute, pounding yourself on the chest and flexing for the crowd? Like, are we a sport that's more like tennis and golf where there's a gentleman's type thing, or should it be more like UFC or NBA or, something where every time you do, should we be coming out of the water, hooting and hollering and pounding ourselves, or keep it more of like the gentleman type decorum that, you make a hole in one in golf and you raise your hand and say, thanks to the crowd.
Like, I think at the finish line, you could be pretty excited. People like going to the races where pros are. That's why they have us. They wouldn't otherwise. Like, if you want to go and celebrate at the line and their precious banner, which you get to take home, by the way.
You get to keep those things? I've got one. I've only got to keep one of mine.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I look at what the players unions have done for football, or done for baseball and basketball and even hockey during this process, and protecting the players. Triathlon, we've tried to establish something so many times in the past, and it's just lost footing. And to think of where we could be with this pandemic if one of those earlier attempts would have gotten footing, just if like the PTO, what they're doing now, was able to get footing 10 years ago when it tried the last time, or 5 years ago, what would be different now is kind of what I keep thinking about. And can't spend too much time thinking about the what ifs, but it gives good hope for what needs to happen going forward.
What do you think triathlon will look like in 20 years' time?
Do you think the start line is going to change? Do you think this will be a long-term thing once they have a vaccine or treatment for COVID? Do you think that we're going to go to all time trial starts, or is it go back to normal?
like assuming that a vaccine does come out, I think we will pretty much see a back to normal. I don't think the structure of the race will completely change as a result of it, but you might see like less crowding in the expos and stuff like that, just from people being more aware of that kind of thing. But on the pro side, like I'm hopeful that PTO kind of takes us in a direction where the sport's big. Like, you know, maybe it won't be as big as golf or tennis, but it's like shoot for the moon, right? So I'd like to see something where you tell someone you're a pro triathlete. Kayaking, running, and swimming, or what is that?
Yeah. So you just play around and your wife makes a living for you, huh? Must be nice. The PTO have done a good job of bringing in the right people to move us forward. You know, the media, just bringing, you know, not bringing in somebody that's completely fresh, you know, but bringing in somebody who has experience growing another sport. You know, like we, you know, currently a lot of the media come from UFC, and then we've got leadership coming in from tennis and golf, like, you know, the recent appointment of Chris.
Someone who's done it before, that's what we need. Like, we need the experience, right? And then obviously you need the people in the PTO who have all the triathlon experience to be able to help incorporate that with our sport, which all the pieces are in place. It's just a matter of, well, there being able to be races some point soon.